The tulips were gone now. Their petals had withered, fallen, and been swept into the trash like they had never been beautiful at all. Sophie stared at the empty vase on the counter that morning and thought about how quickly something could look perfect, and then be nothing. 2 weeks had passed since the night at the wine bar, the night sat in her car and watched Mark touch another woman's face with the same tenderness he used to give her. In Episode 1, Sophie's perfect-on-paper marriage had begun to crack under the weight of suspicion. In Episode 2, she had quietly collected proof. The texts from Jay, the strange cologne, the new ties, and finally, that damning photograph under the string lights. Now, Episode 3 wasn't about doubt. It was about the slow, deliberate tightening of the net. The morning began with the sound of Mark's laughter drifting from the living room. That laugh, the deep, warm one, used to feel like a gift. Now it felt like a knife. Sophie stepped quietly into the hallway and saw him on a video call, his phone propped at an angle, his face lit with the same softness she'd seen at the wine bar. She didn't need to see the other person to know who it was. When Mark noticed her, he ended the call too quickly. "Just a client," he said. His smile was practiced. She didn't answer, just poured herself coffee, watching the steam rise between them like smoke from something still burning. That afternoon, Sophie sat in her car outside an electronics store. Her fingers tapped the steering wheel, her chest tight. She'd never done anything like this before, but she reminded herself, Mark had already crossed the line. She was just stepping over it to meet him on the other side. Inside, she bought a small hidden camera disguised as a picture frame. At home, she placed it on the sideboard in their living room, a wedding photo of her and Mark in the center, smiling under a canopy of white roses. The camera's lens was barely visible, tucked into the frame's black edge. That night, while Mark showered, Sophie paired it with her phone and set the alerts. If there was movement in that room while she was gone, she'd know. The first alert came 3 days later. Sophie was at school, helping a student with an art project, when her phone buzzed. The camera app flashed a live feed. Mark, in the living room, pacing with his phone pressed to his ear. And then she saw her. The brunette, Jay, walked into frame like she owned the space. She wore a cream sweater and smiled as Mark pulled her close. Sophie felt her heartbeat in her throat. The app kept recording, every second stored on her phone. They laughed, kissed, and collapsed onto the couch. Sophie's hands were shaking so hard she almost dropped her phone. But she didn't look away. Every moment was proof. That night, Mark came home late, claiming traffic had kept him. Sophie served him dinner, asking about his day, her voice steady even though her chest ached with every beat. She thought about the video on her phone. She could show it to him right now. She could watch his face crumble, watch the excuses spill out. But no, not yet. She needed more. Her next move was subtle. She began taking photos of their life together. Breakfast plates, his shoes by the door, their shadows on the driveway at sunset. Mark didn't know that each picture's reflection or background held something she could use. A half-open text, an unfamiliar watch on his wrist, lipstick on a wine glass in the sink. To anyone else, it was art. To Sophie, it was ammunition. One evening, she found Mark in the kitchen scrolling through his phone, grinning at something unseen. She leaned over his shoulder just enough to catch a glimpse. "Weekend getaway? Can't wait to see you again." He locked the screen quickly, but the damage was done. That night, Sophie sat on the floor of their bedroom, her back against the bed, and scrolled through the evidence she'd gathered. Photos, videos, texts. Each one a crack in the perfect image they still showed the world. She thought about the woman in the cream sweater. She thought about how Mark's lies were stitched into their every conversation now. And she thought about how good it would feel to let the whole town see the truth. For the first time, she allowed herself to smile, not out of happiness, but out of certainty. The story Mark thought he was in was about to end. The one Sophie was writing was only beginning. Somewhere deep inside, past the hurt and the fury, she felt something else taking shape. Patience. Because the perfect revenge, she knew now, wasn't about striking first. It was about striking last. If episode 3 kept you on the edge of your seat, smash that like button, share it with someone who loves an emotional plot twist, and tell me in the comments, what would you do if you were Sophie? Make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications, because episode 4 will take this betrayal to an entirely new level.